Welcome to the Masters in Motion podcast, where we empower Masters athletes to reach their full potential. Join us as we delve into the world of CrossFit and showcase the strength, resilience, and determination of Masters athletes, because we love this sport. I'm Jason Grubb with Rick Stevenson. This is episode 29 already. Rick, how are you doing, brother?
Wow. I'm doing well. Luckily, there's a little distance between us because I haven't caught any germs or viruses. So,
dude, I swear this is.
How are you feeling?
I'm fine. I'm still coughing.
You sound good. You sound better.
Oh my gosh, it was so bad last week. And honestly, it was bad the week before. I got sick. The Monday after the games, it started kicking in. And it's funny, I did a recap YouTube video, like a behind the scenes, and I worked on it last week, I think. And there was one segment in that where I was talking to the camera about my family being sick, and everyone was sick. And I'm like, thank God I got through this. I bet I'm just going to die. And I died literally a day after the games. It was brutal.
That's called karma.
I know, right?
Absolute karma.
And I suffered. I think. I know there's another strain of COVID going around. There's a good chance. It doesn't matter. I had an upper respiratory awful thing, and my family had it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if people were at the games, there was a lot of people at the games that ended up afterwards catching something. But it's also part of being an elite athlete. You go out there, you kill yourself. You've been training forever. You stop, and your body's like, time to be sick for a minute. Everything's just going to calm down.
When you and I talked about that, I thought that was the first thing. It's like, it's just the your system just shuts down after everything that it's been through. And who knows? I am the farthest thing from a doctor, but boy, I think you're more susceptible to germs and stuff like that.
I think so too. And I'm a very clean person, dude. I'm going to tell you, I am one of those guys. If I needed another job, I would put myself out there as a forensic germ detective or something. Like, I can trace all the germs that exist in the world back to their original spot. And what I mean, for example, like if I travel, like at an airport, my biggest glitch is like the bathroom floors. Is my biggest concern.
Oh,
right? You walk in there, and then you walk out of there and walk in those same shoes that were on some sort of sticky floor. And now you get on an airplane and you put your carry-on bag under the seat in front of you, where your feet are, where your disgusting bottom of your shoes are, that were on the floor in the bathroom. And then you grab that bag and throw it on your shoulder later. And I'm pretty sure that's where all diseases come from. I think that's the super spreader.
That bag might just be thrown down on the bed when you get into the hotel room until you move it or whatever. Oh,
dude, I watch all that stuff. I know.
Sorry,
I know where they all come from. I haven't touched a doorknob with my bare hand in a really long time, or at least a public doorknob. It's either like my pinky or my foot, or we're in colonial parts of Virginia, and the boys and I went to the bathroom.
Williamsburg?
Yeah, we're right in Williamsburg, actually. Yeah. So
my buddy who I work with is going to be there in 3 days, moving his daughter into William and Mary, which is
that's it. Right. Drove through there. That is the second oldest college in American history.
She's our middle one's age too, so she started her sophomore year, and she loves it down there. They love the trip down. Yeah, there. It's a pretty area.
It's a pretty area, and I didn't realize that how much in the South we are. The humidity and the heat is pretty insane.
Oh yeah.
I love hand sanitizer. I love staying clean, and it's really hard when you have this much humidity to stay clean. Let's just say that.
It's just sweat. Hey, completely unrelated, but somewhat related to your germs. I'm not picking a side one way or the other, but today, this is not my tip of the week, nor it has anything to do with CrossFit, but it was a fantastic read. It was in the Washington Post today, and it was going back to the way the Chinese government covered up and hid what was going on there, speaking of germs, in late 2019. And it was just another eye-opening read. I've chosen to ignore most of that stuff now that we're past it, but every now and then an article like that will catch my attention, and it was a long one. It took me a while to get through, but thumbs up to the journalistic reporting that they can dig through stuff. Oh,
I mean, finally to go back and dig into that and really uncover.
Nothing to do with the origin,
right?
Not talking
just
about the origin.
Just the cover up, the numbers, all that. Yeah,
exactly.
Pretty brutal stuff.
We might be offending, a few people that listen here or there, so sorry, but great read.
It's a mainstream news outlet right there covering that. It's tough to offend someone there.
Yeah.
Moving on to CrossFit news, couple of things.
That's what we're here for.
We're here for that, and we'll provide our own propaganda out here for this CrossFit.
There you go.
Because we do have some rumors. And so I think it's fair to bring up what's going on in the rumor mill, because you and I have both heard from multiple sources various details. One, we know, and it's confirmed, that CrossFit will not be in Madison next year, the CrossFit Games. We know that. That's public.
Absolutely.
Right.
And we've already speculated on where we think it could be.
Yep.
But we have no idea more than anybody else.
Right.
We have our ideal locations, but
and I may have heard things. I may have heard things from people that should be in the know. But honestly, like, I don't know. The location that I've heard is quite confusing. So we're just going to leave that one out, because that one's really
correct.
Really speculative. But what we do know, or what we've heard from strong sources, is that next year there will not be age group adaptive teenagers masters as part of the CrossFit Games in a traditional sense that we've seen over the past 10 plus years. I thought that's really interesting. You know, we went through the history of the CrossFit Games as we're leading up to the games, and you were telling us about the history of masters athletes at the games. How random, or how ironic is it that now we hear that they're going to spin us off, and that there's going to be a separate event. I haven't heard anything about age group. I haven't heard anything about adaptive, but I have heard that Masters will be spun off to its own Masters CrossFit.
Oh, you mean teenagers?
Did I say teenagers? Yeah, I meant teenagers.
Teenagers. Yeah, right.
Teenagers and adaptives, I don't know, but I've heard that Masters will be spun off to an event after the games that will be hosted by a group that has held masters, large masters competitions historically. And we don't know anything. Nothing has been come out of CrossFit on that. No. But I've heard from multiple sources. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. All those multiple sources could be hearing it from someone who's just leaking something that may not be true.
Or completely wrong. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Could be wrong.
That's why you have to,
We do sense the writing on the wall. We sense it with coverage and all that. It makes some sense. But what are your thoughts?
I think that's I was going to say, for teenagers, again, what I've not heard is anything about teenagers or adaptive. But if you start to connect dots, they have that event up in Michigan at the pit, I believe, that teen fitness. It would be a natural extension of perhaps that event to maybe take ownership there. Sure. And for adaptives, CrossFit was slow to bring adaptives onto the scene, where they took a lot of guidance from the folks that run Wodapalooza. So if somehow that gets tied back, and for those athletes, that's their games. It goes right back to where they had a venue to begin with.
Right. Interesting.
Because, and again, I'm not familiar with that intricacies of that community, but I think Wodapalooza folks have more experience in programming, in division standards, and everything that relates to it. It would just make natural sense to go back there. And there you already have the pieces in place. Yeah, they have pieces. And with Wodapalooza starting this new West Coast deal, it would make sense.
It would make a lot of sense, actually.
Maybe that it goes there, but it's the same people running it. So that's all I want to say on those two, teenagers and adaptives. But circling back to Masters, yes, we've all heard it. Yep. We're not out soliciting any type of information. It's people texting us. It's people calling us. Yep. Hey, what have you heard? And me not being in Madison, you being in Madison, I'm sure you were a lot closer to the rumors that were flying around.
People loved coming up to tell me exactly what they heard. Exactly. And
exactly.
The fact is, I heard it from multiple people in Madison, and I've actually been on a couple of podcasts recently, Kettlebells and Cocktails, the Clydesdale Media podcast, where we've had conversations on the air about some of this as well. So this isn't something that's it's out there. It's out there. So we're talking about something that other people are already talking about. I'll tell you my initial thought when I heard at the games that this was the last year that the Masters would be at the big show, if we want to just call it that, the big event. Initially I was sad. Of course, it's change. Change is hard. My aspirations were always to be at the CrossFit Games, and I've been there 5 years in a row. I've only been in Madison. I don't know anything else in that space. I only know what it's like to be there, to either be running our events alongside with the individuals, as it has been some years, or to overlap with them a little bit, or to have ours first and theirs second. Each one of those iterations has had its pluses and minuses. But to not be there, to not be a part of that, and not have that big, huge event feel to it, that fitness festival, the biggest thing.
There's a vibe.
Yeah.
I think that's the
you've been it. You've experienced it. And we talked about this beforehand, that you got there. You were there last year, and you got the chance to display and get out there on the field. And I mean, let's just say you got to tie for first. Okay. You don't say it a lot, but you did tie for first, but you podiumed your first year at the CrossFit Games. But you got there. Talk about that. I mean, what's that mean to you?
Well, I felt like it, without going too deep down it went by too fast, and with change not even on your horizon or radar at that time, you almost wish you would have soaked in a little bit more of the experience. And what you talked about, the feel or the fitness festival feel of it, is my head felt like it was on a swivel the entire week,
right?
Because you just didn't know who you were going to see. And if you're a fan of the sport like we are, you could be just walking into the warm-up area and see so-and-so or whatever like that. And you're like,
right.
Oh my gosh. The part about if it does get split off, you lose that. But there are pluses, and we can talk about the pluses to it.
Lead us off on the silver lining.
Okay. First thought was, you and I have been on the record, along with lots of friends and colleagues of ours, that complain about the 10-person field. If this does indeed happen and it goes to a separate hosted event, you would expect them to have larger fields. That is a plus. That brings a lot more people into play. Now, how you do the selection process and to narrow the field down to get a bigger field, who knows? But all I know is 10 people. It doesn't work. We talked about it. It's odd from a scoring perspective. You have no shows. You have injuries. You get a very small field. You have no shakeup. With only 7 to 8 events per year, those that take first, like yourself, in a couple of events, it sets yourself up really well. You take a 9th or a 10th, you've got 10 or 20 points. You're already buried.
Right.
It's just a larger field, I think, is going to be beneficial. And if they're smart, if they're on top of marketing and they're on top of the messaging, they're going to use that as a very large selling point to try to appease the Masters community.
Well, and there's the rub right there. I agree with you completely on the larger field. More opportunities for Masters athletes to check box that bucket list item of making it to the CrossFit Games. They get to compete at the CrossFit Games with athletes like you, like me, the ones that they've seen, online, the ones they've seen in the past, and the next stars that come up and shine in the Masters field. They get to do that. So it provides much more opportunity for that, much more inclusive. I love the idea that the score, if it's 20 in the field per division, 30, 40, I can't even imagine that if I win an event and the second place guy is only behind me by 3 points, like that just is mind-numbing. Yeah. It's crazy. How exciting would that be? You have to battle for every single, you still have to battle right now, but much more interesting.
Yes.
And you'd have wild cards out there.
That pulls me back to a quote. If you watch the documentaries, which I know we do,
of course,
my buddies at work wonder why I'm not caught up on every HBO show out there. And it's probably because I spend my time watching these documentaries. But my point is, 2019 games, if you remember that, Matt went out and won the first 2 events. And he had a quote late in the first day. He's like, damn, I've done all this work and I have a 6-point lead or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the point. Or maybe he won the first 3 events. I don't remember what it was. Yeah. But to your point is, there's no separation in the point distribution when you have a larger field. But you know what? As cool as it was to be in that festival atmosphere and that vibe of who you might see, when 3, 2, 1 and the beep went off, I'm not competing against BKG or Sam Dancer. I have my age group that all I'm concerned about. So it really, if you want to compete like we do, I'm not worried about who I might or might not be there. I'm worried about who's in the lanes around me.
This is really true. And that's where I'm going to circle back to something that you said earlier, but before that, I'll say that's what's special. I think you and I have experienced at larger competitions like Wadapalooza, which we've done together, MFC, which you've done, and we're going to do again this year. You're going and I'm going. You're doing teams. I'm going to go individual. At Legends, when we're, for example, at Legends, 3, 2, 1, go. That's it. You're right. It is the guys around me and
focus.
Yep. Yeah, Legends has that larger field, and that was one of my frustrations last year at Legends, that I was struggling to win events, and by not winning events and having different guys beat me, my score was just not moving into that, I'm not dominating, I'm just barely winning, which made it very hard.
Comfort range.
Yeah, comfort range. I was never insured out there. But it was really fun. I loved it. And I think that's a great point, that when you're on that stage against the guys that you're against, the blinders go on and this is your job. you're not competing against Jeffrey Adler, Roman Krennikov. You're there to do a job, and it still is battle, and that's cardinal reward system right there for us. The thing I want to circle back to, you'd mentioned if CrossFit markets this correctly, it can go really well. And what we do know is that CrossFit, if I'm a betting person, CrossFit,
I think I know where you're going with
generally does this poorly. Now we could hope. I hope that they come around this with something, because you have to sell it to us. Like, you listen, you guys just have to. This has to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And we want your involvement in the open. We want you, Masters. We want you in quarterfinals and semifinals. We want you to shine, because you are the bread and butter of this sport. You're the financial foundation of the sport of CrossFit.
Right.
So we've decided to give you your own event where the spotlight is yours. Now, they could sell that if they say, hey, we couldn't, our resources are spread so thin at the games, we can't cover everything. So we've gone and done this. Now it's yours. Welcome to the Masters CrossFit Games, full coverage with our partners who are running this, full qualifiers. I don't know, top tier sponsors. If they have some sort of, it was a bummer this year, but instead, here's what we're going to do in the future. Welcome to the CrossFit Masters Games, or whatever they want to call it. They could spend $10,000 on their media team. Like, just pay those guys that do that stuff to make it amazing. And I'll get goosebumps. You'll get goosebumps, and we'll sign up. Take my money.
Yep. We'll support the sponsors. I think like we always do. I'll tell you, I mean, it's hard not to. What would be interesting is, this is way off tangent. Can they recruit sponsors that might be more for our age group, but might not be all fitness related? I mean, do other companies care about targeted audiences such as ours, where there are dollars to be spent? No clue. But
dude, I mean,
I don't know who you reach out to. We'd love to. Do they want our opinions? Do they want feedback from us? I mean, that's the thing, which is important. Yeah, I hope.
I mean, Ram Trucks is much more to our demographic than it is a 20-year-old demographic. And they have sponsored the games before. Be very interesting.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
So that is the rumor mill there. Anything else on that?
Well, it should be a slow time. What are we, towards the end of August? And I think it still technically is. I mean, but something tells me that we're going to have a lot more to discuss in the weeks ahead, maybe a month or two ahead, that pertain to this. And normally, I think our cycle will be, we'll talk about what's coming up event-wise and things like that. But I bet you we circle back to this.
I think this might be a topic.
It just seems like something's building. Yeah, that's
it is
right now. No,
every podcast that I've been on in the last couple of weeks has had this as a significant portion of that conversation. So it's a hot ticket item. I'm sure we'll circle back when the actual news comes out. Or honestly, to our listeners, if we hear anything else juicy, we'll share what we feel we can share. If it comes out, if there's something fresh, something new, interesting around that.
And certainly if it's from a out of the horse's mouth, we'll 100%. Be as quick to react with that and try and get some other people's opinions as well.
Well, we'll have an emergency Masters in Motion podcast. If there's we'll go live. We'll just, we'll go code red.
Jason, I'm driving home from work. Come on.
Did you get the news? We're going live. Yeah. I'll tell you, one of the things that was nice to see this week, and this is a little piece of news, and then we're going to get into the Masters, the Legends Masters Championship qualifiers, and we're going to talk through those workouts, just touch on them, little strategy, share some of our tips that we've picked up from others ourselves. But here's the quick update. Last week, Dave Castro, he's doing these week in review, and he has a lot of questions and answers on YouTube. But I think it's really cool. People just ask him honest questions. He turns the camera on and answers them as honestly as he can. And last week, someone brought up the idea or the question of, hey, Masters coverage was horrible this year. What's up with that? He said, well, honestly, it was rough. We realized that. I can't remember all that he said, but he also sort of brought out that we had, the teams that were there, the media teams that were there had the opportunity to stream and no one was interested. Right. And it was a little bit flippant. He may not have used that exact wording, but that was the message that kind of gone across. So I jumped in there and I made a comment and I said, hey, Dave, so as a press pass holder myself, because of this podcast, I didn't pick up my press pass until after my events were over, just to be technically clear, because I did stream my events on my Instagram. But the press pass agreement stated, as the press, you cannot stream anything at any time from the games. There are exclusive rights to CrossFit media
That's fair.
and ESPN and all that stuff. So multiple times when you're signing the press pass agreement, it says you cannot stream. You can't actually show that many pictures you take. There's a limit to the amount of pictures you can share online.
I heard that on another podcast.
Super
I was
restrictive.
Surprised at that.
Yeah. Very restrictive.
Very interesting.
So I asked Dave that question, and this week he addressed my question, which was very cool. He said, at Jason Grubb, blah, 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 my question. He said, Jason, you're probably right. I think that is in the agreement. And my question to him was, did you extend a pardon or an exception to all of the media teams and let them know that streaming the Masters would be exempt from this rule? He said, no, we didn't do anything like that, and that probably would have been a good idea. And I just want to say officially, Dave Castro can come across, and there's so many times I don't want to like him because he can come across, he's very decisive, very quick, has lots of opinions, but when it comes down to it, he's very kind and quick to admit if he's wrong, if he made a mistake. And that's what he did right there. He's like, yeah, we probably should have done that. That's a good idea. And just super humble. And anytime I've met him in person, he is just a down to earth, genuine, kind human being. I'm sure you've had that experience with him. I'm like, man, I just want to be mad at him. And then he goes and does something like that, totally redeems himself. So thank you, Dave Castro, for listening and for responding. And responding in a way that was very authentic and genuine. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I my most experience with him, and I'm allowed to say it now, is I was down in Columbus to be part of the testing team for the games workouts, specifically age group for me, and he was hands-on. It was certainly, a lot of it was coming. It was Boz's programming, but Dave had an eye on everything and asked opinions. Had opinions and solicited feedback, and so it was a very good interaction. And I'll tell you what, the media has a way of blowing up a public persona, which does not tell or reveal what a person truly is like, and we all know that. We're old enough and smart enough to understand that. So, look, I think again there was a lot going on, and I think that decision was made probably early on and just tabled as that decision has been made for lack of coverage. And there wasn't much more thought because there was probably a checklist of about 100 things more they had to task and get done. And, looking back on it now, again, circling back, if this is its own separate event, I think those items might not just be pushed to the side. And I think there's going to be a lot more clarity on who can do what and how can it be done. Because the thoughtfulness from the organizers of, if this does happen, whoever gets it, are going to be front and center. It's important to them. So
right.
We'll see. Yeah, good
see.
On Dave's weekend. I think it's called Dave's Weekend Review, right? Yeah, I think is about 10 or 12 minutes about every Monday, unless he's traveling.
It's really cool that he does it, and I just love how unscripted it is. It's just Dave answering questions. Let's move into these qualifiers. Sure. The Legends qualifier. We had Joe Linton on the podcast last week. He is the co-founder of the Legends Championship, which has been a very big event for a number of years now for Masters athletes. If you didn't get a chance to hear that episode, go back and take a listen. But it's really neat to hear the history of the event, what they went through as they were building it from their gym into much larger areas. And then COVID happened, and they actually, what they did to make that one happen.
Dealing with COVID. Yeah.
Really amazing. But they've released their qualifiers literally last Wednesday. And we have, let's see, the countdown timer shows me we have 19 days to complete these qualifiers. That's how much time we have left. There are 6 qualifiers, 7 scores.
Yeah, let's see. Seven scores. Right.
They're really fun workouts. And, historically what I found with Legends is that they're very good at programming for our age groups and creating very challenging tests. So with that said, we wanted to just jump through these workouts, share what they are, share some quick and brief strategies, how we would approach these workouts or how we did them if we've done them. I know you've watched some people do them, so we'll share everything we can at this point about what these workouts are like. Okay.
23.1 is a two-parter, and actually on the scorecard it's listed as 23.1 and 23.1A. Let's see briefly, how do we go through this here? It is 2 scores. Actually, it's a 3-parter because you get 5 minutes to establish a snatch, 1 rep max snatch.
Correct.
And then you have a minute transition here. I'm pretty sure. Yep, a minute transition into a 5-minute AMRAP of ascending by twos of dumbbell squats and chest to bars, with chin over the bar being for the older age groups. So 2 dumbbell squats, 2 chest to bars, 4 dumbbell squats, 4 chest to bars, on and up. Then at the end of the 5 minutes, you have a minute to reset and another 5 minutes to establish a 1 rep max snatch. So the score, your one score is your total weight lifted for the 2 lifts. And then the other is number of reps completed. How far did you get in the squat and chest to bar piece? So
I did this. I did it. I did it yesterday.
All right.
I'll share my experience. I did it outside. It was it was less than ideal circumstances because it was 2 p.m. In the outdoors in Virginia. So it was toasty. I got to tell you, I poured tremendous amounts of sweat on this one, but the 5 minutes to establish a snatch is plenty of time. I mean, it is so much time. You load up you warm up and load up your first weight. You hit that first weight and you have 5 minutes. At the games, we had 3 minutes. And I think I got 5 total lifts in 3 minutes because I missed one. But at the games, I hit 185, 195, 205, 215. For this, being that it's a qualifier, I'm at home. I'm in an imperfect environment. I did hit 185, 195, 205. I went for 210. Didn't feel it. And so I just left it at 205. It's fine. So first snatch is pretty much standard. You know, you're starting a camera, reviewing your weights, get up, get the snatches out of the way. 1 minute transition. This is not one of those workouts where I think if you wear lifters for the snatch, you can wear lifters for the front squats and for the chest to bar.
Oh,
no,
absolutely.
Big deal, right?
I would think so. Yep.
So just cool your jets. Catch your breath. The squats are all about, or the next section, the next 5 minute AMRAP is all about transition. 2 squats, 2 chest to bar. You can burn a lot of time between those 2 transitions. 4, 4, 6, 6, 8, 8. It's all transition. The actual lifting and the actual chest to bar are just not that big of a deal at that stage. I think once you get to the 10, 10, 12, 12, 14 and beyond, now you're dealing with fatigue. Particularly in the squats, double dumbbell front squats can be really challenging. If you read the rules on that one, you can set the dumbbells on your shoulders as long as you have your hands on the dumbbells, on the handles. Yeah. So you can do that. But what I found is that you're just moving too fast. 5 minutes isn't enough time to get you into
to set.
That amount of squats. Like for me, holding the dumbbells in a front squat, even into the set of 14, was not fatiguing on the shoulders. It was fine. It was more like I just needed to move fast, if that makes sense. So, but that 5 minutes flies by. Now you get back to the snatch and you've got a lot of
1 minute transition.
Yeah. 1 minute is not enough.
1 minute is probably not enough time to recover.
No. Yeah. So you just get over there and just stand there for a couple of minutes. In fact, at that point, I was actually deloading my barbell. So I went back, I took the minute transition to deload my barbell. You can have a pit crew do this for you. I was solo. So I deloaded the barbell down to 185 and I hit the 185. Just boom, hit it. Felt good. And then I went ahead and I hit
CNS is properly warmed up.
CNS is probably warmed up. And that is the key on the second part. If you think CNS is super primed, the fatigue is high when you first get to that barbell. But after you wait 1 minute and then into that second minute, maybe in that third minute, your fatigue level goes way down. And we know that a super stimulated CNS and a low fatigue level makes for great lifting. This is why we hit PRs after qualifiers. You do something
terrible. Right after.
Yeah. And that's what this workout was like. If you allow yourself to realize that you were actually in a better position after that 5 minute AMRAP for bigger lifts, you could kind of go for it there. I could see myself hitting a bigger lift. I hit the lifts I wanted to lift and I just decided to stay safe. I don't need to qualify. I'm just having fun.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, you're having fun. You have a ticket already punched.
Yep.
Correct.
And that was the workout. It's get that max snatch and then really fast transitions in that middle AMRAP. But it was fun. I would call that workout one of the funner workouts because it's so quick. You're lifting heavy, you got to burn a little bit, and then you lift heavy again. And I think generally it's a pretty rewarding situation. Now,
2 scores. Yep.
Two scores.
Two scores.
If we move into 23.2, I'll share this workout. And then I actually did this one as well, but I'll get your thoughts on it. And then I'll let you know what it actually felt like. But workout 23.2 is for time. It's got an 8-minute time cap. You've got 9 burpee box jump overs, 9 shoulder to overhead, 12, 12, 15, 15. So an ascending rep scheme, which is a dreaded ascending rep scheme, honestly. The box is a standard box. And the barbell is standard for most age groups. If we take a look at the scorecard, let me just jump in here real quick. Standard weights
135.95.
135.95. Once you get to 55 plus, there's some scaling on those barbells, appropriate scaling for the 55, the 60 plus, and the 65 plus. But it's really straightforward. It's a couplet. And you're taxing your core on the burpee box jump overs and then shoulder to overhead. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah. I think it was interesting to hear Joe last week say this one was one that they flipped because I think it had gone 15, 12, 9, and they wanted, there you always see the light at the end of the tunnel. Fewer reps towards the end. They flipped this just to play with you mentally and say, I'm in the 12s and I've got to go back and do 15s now instead. This probably hurts as much as perhaps Fran might, I would think. This is a burn the house down. One, you can tell it's only an 8-minute cap. I don't think it's going to take people anywhere near that. Depending on the age group, this could be a sub 3.5 minute workout, sub 3 maybe for the very young baby masters. I believe that 135 is not much to move. The scorecard lays out how to set it up. So I know there's a lot of transitions, but you're close by on everything. So
you could lose time on the transitions if you stand there. But when you're moving quick. Right. On this one, there's no need for chalk. You're only cleaning the bar 3 times, ideally. Ideally, never setting down that bar. But experientially, you hit the nail on the head. Your approximate times, I think baby masters will be sub 3:30. Sub 3 would be a ripping score. You'd have to really blast those burpee box jump overs. Like you got to go for broke on those. And that's, I can see some 35-year-olds doing that. I think 40 plus and beyond, the slowdown is the burpee box jump overs. For me, I paced those in such a way that I planned to just never set down the barbell. So I planned my burpees accordingly. Okay. Right. I probably in retrospect could have gone a little faster on the burpees, but on a 9, 12, 15, the danger is you go too fast too soon, and now you're just going to die. You're just going to die. So
the 15 hits you in the face.
In the face. So I found one pace on the burpees. I held that pace the entire time. And everything was fine until I got to maybe 8 on that last set of shoulder to overhead. You finish there, and that bar got real spicy. And I did manage to get that done unbroken. Dropped it just under sub 4. I'm not breaking world records on that one, but that heart rate was Fran-like. It really was. You said it was a barn burner. Okay, and you are correct. And I think your times, the 3:30 to 4, the 4:30, depending on your age group, I think those are all fair. But you're not specifically lit on fire in any particular. Yeah, your shoulders a little bit tired, but your heart. Your heart is jumping through your chest.
Well, I find that happens to me a lot on burpees, especially box jump overs. There's so much movement of your body in space. Yep. It never will I call burpee box jump over rest or anything like that. Ever. You get a good rhythm depending on how many you can do or how many you have to do. There's ways and tips and tricks on keeping your hips low and just spinning over the box. I mean, there's all that, but still it's moving your body over in space. And to me, I don't care what kind of condition I'm in, it spikes my heart rate. So
yeah,
yuck.
I know. Fast. Another short workout. If you think about the first workout and the second workout, both are very short, very fast.
5 and 5. Yeah. Yep. Well, turn the tables here. If you're doing them in order, you've been blasted with 2 shorter workouts. Well, 23.3 is a 15-minute AMRAP. So you're working for 15 minutes. So pace accordingly. Now, I've watched a couple of folks go through this, judged one lady, and it is a 15-minute AMRAP of 30 handstand push-ups, nothing out of the ordinary, not wall facing or anything like that, just 30 handstand push-ups, can keep them 30 dumbbell snatch, 5 on each hand before switching, and then 15 calorie row, 30, 30, 15. And I do remember this a number of years back. it catches up to you. I watched both do it, and I think when you break up the handstand push-ups earlier than you think you need to, that's not a bad idea, because if you're into rounds 3 and perhaps round 4, you're accumulating an awful lot of time upside down. That's a lot of handstand push-ups. The dumbbell snatches, 70 for the men's divisions, the lower divisions, and 50 on up. 50 for the ladies, and then 35 for the older divisions. Because it's not a squat snatch, I mean, you can kind of grip it and rip it. And then the row, the better rowers, the bigger athletes are going to have an easier time recovering on the row with big pulls, keeping the pace of the rower at a point where it doesn't take long to get the 15 calories. For people who are not the strongest rowers, such as myself, I think I'm going to be breathing pretty hard in order to get those 15 calories done, and I get off, and then I'm right back up on the wall again. So
what's the breakup strategy on the handstand push-ups? It's early, break them up early and often, even in the first round to save that a bit.
Yeah. I mean, can we go 20? Absolutely. Could you go 20 and 10? Sure. I just think smaller sets at the outset, knowing that you don't need a lot of rest there. You kick off, shake out, kick right back up.
It is kipping.
Just taking
it's
some
not
of that
strict.
tension off.
So it is kipping.
It's kipping.
So, okay.
It's kipping. So you
that's
can go
handy.
there. You're just going to pound the top of your head into the pad.
Fine.
A lot of times.
So delightful doing that. That's on my agenda tomorrow.
This is, the medium time domain.
Yep.
A lot of reps will be accumulated. Limited transitions, break them up probably a little earlier than you need to, because you're going to be able to move efficiently through the snatches. Before you knew it, you were done. They were done. I'm doing my little tick marks, and suddenly they're at 25, and I'm like, whoa, 5 more, boom, onto the rower. So, I remember this. I remember this one. I think this might have been 2020.
I think so. I remember doing this in the garage in 2020. And,
exactly.
I remember the dumbbell being really heavy for me at the time. I didn't have a lot of reps at 70. And I think over the past 2 years, I've done a lot more reps at that weight. That gives me a bit more confidence on one hand. But also I realized that's a sticky spot right there. I think the handstand push-ups, because they're kipping, okay, I can chip my way through that. 5 sets of 6 or 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, something like that. But honestly, when we're doing 5 and 5 and 5 and 5 and 5 and 5 on the snatches, that can light you up, wear out your shoulders, get your core really involved.
Because it's 5 on the one side, there's no break. If you're alternating, you could go a little bit longer, I think.
Yeah, I think I actually like the way that's programmed. I like it because it's going to be a really challenging stimulus. But I like it from a programming standpoint. I don't necessarily love it as a participant.
Right. Well, good luck.
I'm just going to do it.
I was going to say good luck tomorrow.
Well, let's see. Moving on to 23.4, we've got a 14-minute time cap. So this is going to be a little longer. 4 rounds. 75 double unders, 40 double dumbbell front rack lunges, and 12, 9, 6, 3 on those ring muscle ups. I certainly don't remember doing these, but I haven't had to do the qualifier since 2020. So I still respect this workout, and I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah.
I do think this is going to be really challenging, particularly for those age groups 44 and under, where they're doing 40 feet of double dumbbell front rack walking lunges with 70s. That, yeah.
Thank goodness I'm old.
Me too. I'll take it. I mean, honestly, we'll just take it. Yeah.
So this is what Joe said. The only change in this one was 4, 3, 2, 1 rope climbs.
Right.
They swapped that out and went 12, 9, 6, 3 ring muscle ups, because they wanted to have ring muscle ups in the qualifier. So 30 ring muscle ups is no joke.
No joke.
75 double unders, you can get through that each round, no breaks, or maybe there's a trip in there, so it's 1 break. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's not as much of a place to cause friction as the dumbbell front rack lunges. That'll start to wear on you, and then the muscle ups will get there'll be some fatigue there.
Oh yeah, I look at those muscle ups, and I'm very
30.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I love muscle ups. I think that's my I say, but when you're doing it in combination with the double unders and the front rack walking lunges,
that's the sticky spot right there. Is man, that's a lot of ring muscle ups. And yeah, if it was just double unders and ring muscle ups, I think there's a fair chance to go unbroken here. But those dumbbell front rack lunges are as fatiguing to the cardiovascular system in the legs as they are to the shoulders. And I think I didn't look at the rules on where we can place those dumbbells on our shoulders, but it's just enough. It doesn't matter really where we place them, as long as we're placing them on our shoulders within the rules. But it's just not restful. The shoulders are going to be under fatigue and then go up to those ring muscle ups. And this is one of those where, like, could I do 12 unbroken? Yeah, I could do 12 and 9 and 6 and 3 unbroken. But will I, because of the fatigue built into this? It is unlikely. This is not one of those swing for the fences on the ring muscle ups because everything will be fine on the next round kind of workout. It's
no. Shoulders for double unders.
Yeah.
Some shoulder fatigue with the walking lunges.
Yep.
And then suddenly shoulders with the ring muscle ups.
This workout starts with ring muscle ups. You could swing for the fences all day, but it's not. This is the muscle ups are the last part, and that's for a reason. It's a trap, as they always say. It's a trap. So 7-5 or 8-4 on that first set, maybe a 6-3 or a 5-4. Hang on for the 6, hang on for the 3, maybe something like that.
Okay. All right. Now, this is one I might like to give it a whirl. Maybe we'll have a report back next week.
I want to hear from you on that one specifically. I really would.
All right.
Tell us about 23.5. I watched someone do this one today.
23.5. Okay. All right. 23.5. Again, 3-parter. It is your final score is going to be combined from all 3 of the AMRAPs. And so the first one is a 3-minute AMRAP, 10 cleans at your first weight. We'll go over the weights here in a second. 10 cleans, 10 toes to bar. So an AMRAP of 3 minutes of that couplet. Rest 1 minute, another 3-minute AMRAP. The couplet is the same, 8 cleans, but at a higher weight, 8 toes to bar. Rest a minute, another 3-minute AMRAP to finish it off. Same couplet, 6 cleans though at a third weight and 6 toes to bar. So you're always working on this couplet, just like we had in the first workout. However, the weight goes up and the reps come down.
Correct.
Men's weight, without looking at too much of the scaling, it's 155, 185, 205. And for the women, it's 115, 135, and 145. Those are decent weights to move.
Yep.
For a clean. It's not shouldered. It's not ground overhead, but you're just cleaning the weight. But still, you'll be by the time that weight gets to 205, you'll have a full 6 minutes plus already in, and they will get heavy, in my opinion.
I agree. I was able to travel over and hang out with Art Hamilton today. He's a Masters competitor.
Oh,
I went and worked out in his garage with him today.
Yep.
So
no kidding.
Yeah. We did some lifting and we just did some work, and then I did 23.2, and then he did this workout. So I got to watch him do this because he just did 23.2 yesterday. He gave me a time to beat, which was awesome. And
I saw his little post about that. Little did I know. Yeah.
And I was in that garage today. Really, really fun. He's a great guy. So he got into this, and he's a strong dude, really strong. This he could do toes to bar all day, and the guy can lift. I mean, he snatched 251 at the games in 2021, I believe. Dude's strong. He's had some injuries, but he's still retained all that strength. So just watching this, I think a lot of people are going to be right around that 3-round mark at the end of the first AMRAP. If you go touch and go on those cleans,
10-10,
that's probably a trap. It feels like it's probably a handful of touch and go or quick singles at the 155, then get to the toes to bar, and then back to the singles. Doing touch and go becomes quite grippy and super fatiguing, and that's just the first round. 1 minute reset is not a lot of time, so you're not recovering. You're kind of jumping back into the deep end on round 2, which is what I saw. As he went into round 2, the 185 pounds looked heavy. Looked really heavy. You've got a lot of fatigue building up in the system. At that point, you've done 30 plus cleans, 30 plus toes to bar, which is not something that's not a small amount. Right. Now you've got a heavier weight and you're doing 8 and 8, which is just enough to struggle with hope. When you're doing 8 power cleans at 185. The toes to bar, again, are just an interruption. Thankfully, you're getting a break from the cleans, but you get back to the cleans and they just seem tough. The last weight, 205, you're actually getting a lot of fatigue, or at least what I imagine for myself, what I saw today was you're getting a lot of fatigue in your quads. The lifting the bar, catching the bar in that partial squat position, which is just a standard power clean. But again, by the time you get to the third weight, you could maybe be at, you could be at 55 or so cleans at that point. I mean, maybe more or less. Now you're at 205. Now you're really struggling for 6 and 6. in a perfect world, there's a lot more. Maybe they double the toes to bar, right? So you get a lot more time on the toes to bar, but that's not what they
rest from moving the barbell.
They didn't do that. They did it in such a way that it makes it even tougher because the toes to bar just isn't enough of a break, but it's enough of a nuisance to give you the push-pull stimulus, which is what this workout kind of is. And we know the push-pull stimulus in the in Fran and other workouts that have any kind of push-pull, it's going to light your heart on fire and set different parts of your body on fire, which is really what this workout is. And it's 9 minutes of effort. Consistent, very hard effort for 9 minutes. This isn't a break. You don't get a lot of transitions. You're not taking a lot of breaths.
Right.
You are cleaning or doing toes to bar for 9 minutes. That's tough.
Well, I don't like the way you described that because Art is strong and you are strong. And here I'm sitting here looking, our weights are the same. Okay.
I know. You don't get, you've got a couple more years. Yeah, a couple more years before you get a discount, my friend.
Yeah. Jeez, oh, Pete. Okay. All right. Yikes. All right. So that is, that's 23.5. Will you do that tomorrow or will you wait?
You know what? My plan.
No, you're doing, you'll wait.
I'll wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that one. I believe Saturday I'm going to do the last two, 5 and 6. I'm going to be at a gym tomorrow. So I may actually sneak in, 23.3. I may have to do 23.4 because of the ring muscle ups. It's nice to have a gym. I'll be at the Outer Banks later this week, so I can do the last 2 workouts there. But for the handstand push-ups, it'd be nice to be in a gym as well as the ring muscle ups. And I would really like to be able to test all of these. So I may have to do both of those tomorrow, which would be just delightful. I'll save this last one for Saturday afternoon. I'll do this workout and then I'll go jump in the ocean with my kids. 23.6 is 9, 15, 21, 27. Calories on the rower, lateral burpees over the rower. This is a repeat from last year, which last year it was reverse order, 27, 21, 15, 9. And that was delightful because you had this hope. You, as you were doing it, you were like, thank God I'm not doing 21 again. Thank God I'm not doing 15 again as you're working your way through this. This is really going to be a psychological push on this workout. 9 is going to go fast, 15, 21, 27. They're just going to be quite a drag. What are your thoughts? Have you judged anyone, seen anyone do this one yet?
No, I have not. And since I had the foot in a boot last year, I didn't try this one. This is the year of Joe reversing everything. And it's his way to I think, toy with the community.
Yeah.
So I would not expect the same type of mental games maybe in future qualifiers. I can't imagine they'll do that 2 years in a row.
Agreed.
We'll see. But yeah, we know what what the numbers felt like. I think it was quarterfinals, age group quarterfinals, where we had thrusters and calorie rows and that awful couplet there. Here, again, you're moving your body in space. Yeah. Burpees just have a tendency to hurt. And knowing that you have more to do this round than you did last round, it's just a defeating feeling. So I think a decent pace set from the outset will help you avoid hitting the wall in the round of 21, I would think.
Right.
I think that 21 could get ugly because if that gets ugly, then that really doesn't give you much, effort or energy for the round of 27.
Well, what do you think is harder, burpees over the rower or thrusters? If we're comparing this to the open workout or the quarterfinal workout.
Oh, I think thrusters.
Thrusters are harder.
I think so.
Okay.
I really do. For me.
Okay. I'd probably agree. I think thrusters could be faster. I was trying to think about my time and I think I'll be
7 minutes, 6 minutes,
something like that. I think it was, I don't remember exactly.
I was 9.
Yeah. It was somewhere around there. Maybe 650 or something. But yeah, I think thrusters could be faster. But actually not, I'm trying to think through my head. Like, I feel like this is, maybe it's almost the same, but the burpees can get real sluggish, as we work through this. So my thought on this one is, we have to find that consistent effort. We have to be careful in those earlier rounds because, again, huge trap to go too hard at 9 and 15 and then die on your last 48 reps. That's what you got left. 48 reps of each.
Yep.
So pace that 9, pace that 5, that 15. I think you could be slightly more aggressive than you think on the row because...
Rower.
Yeah, on the rower. I want to be a little more aggressive there. than I think I was when I tested this last year. And then see if I can hang on to burpees at a pace that's just machine-like, not necessarily fast. Just this is what I do. I drop down, step up with one leg, step up with the other leg, hop over. I've got kind of a rhythm and a way that I do that just gives me the incentive to focus on which leg I'm stepping up with, which leg I'm hopping with, or both legs really hop at the same time. But if I find that I can, if I slightly distract myself with the mechanics of the movement, like a burpee, which is so machine-like, it somewhat distracts me from the pain to an extent. Then all I'm focusing on is efficient movement to the floor, efficient steps up, and a hop over. So I'm breaking down those mechanics into their specific parts, focusing specifically and expressly on that. And then, if I get to the 27 or the set of 27, I'm on my 20th rep. And if I've got anything in the tank, I'll set my soul on fire for 7 more reps. But the reality is I'm probably going to just be trying with everything I've got in me to hold the same pace for the last 7, and as opposed to laying on the floor and stopping. That's really the burpee. The dangerous part of burpee is when you get to the floor, sometimes it feels good to take one breath on the floor. It's never a good idea.
Absolutely.
Never good.
No, I know. But have we done it? Raise your hand.
Yeah, of course we have. I've laid there.
I've taken that extra breath. I also have to admit, early on, I tripped a few times in doing burpees over the rower. So it is always at the back of my mind now. Are my feet clearing? I hate tripping over the rower. And side note, I was at, the story, but I was at a regional competition, somewhat local competition a week ago, and it was burpees over a worm, double hop burpees over a worm. And the thought that went through my head as I was practicing and warming up was going over a rower, roughly the same height, the rail versus the worm. There's just something about hitting your shin or ankle on a rower rail.
Oh, yeah.
It's
yuck.
A terrible feeling. So if I were to ever, I didn't luckily clip my feet going over the worm, much easier to clip your ankle on a sandbag than on a rower rail. So I just burpees over the rail. Yeah. Now, again, this one I'll be able to do, but I could do this in the garage if I need to.
Yeah, that's what's fun about that one.
This one.
This one's I'm going to do this in paradise, so
space and equipment.
Yeah, it's
perfect.
And there is a on this one you don't have to have a 2-foot takeoff, but I believe you have to show a jump. So you can't step over the rower, but it doesn't have an explicit 2-foot takeoff rule.
Okay, all right, I'll definitely read.
So that's I think that would be the last point that I'd make is do check these scorecards, do check the flow. If you're trying to qualify for Legends, you want to have your camera right, you want to have the flow right. In fact, I forgot about the 5 rep per hand on the snatches until you said it just a couple minutes ago. I was like, that's right, it's 5 per hand, and it just has me think. I did program these workouts for our Boulder athletes this week, so whether they're training for the game, training for the long term, or they're trying to qualify for Legends, either way, they're doing the qualifiers this week. And it's always a reminder, and I remind all of them to go ahead. If you are specifically qualifying or attempting to qualify, be sure to know that scorecard. Treat this like the CrossFit Open, like quarterfinals. It's really good practice for that, first of all. But second of all, you don't want to do these over again on a technicality.
No, we will be Joe's mouthpiece, because I think he said it last week. One of his hardest things that they have to battle with are reviewing videos and people just maybe not setting things up correctly, bad angles. Go through that, take your time. A, read the scorecard like you just said, and B, use the timer to record one round of something or something, just to make sure you're in the frame. It's not worth, as you said, having to redo this again.
Not at all.
Take it seriously. The folks that have put this together have taken the time to give you layouts of where they would recommend a camera be. They're not doing that just for grins, and they do it for a reason, because they think that'll be the optimal way for them to review your video.
And here's another reminder. I do have a YouTube video on recording qualifier workouts. If this is your first time, just go to YouTube, search Jason Grubb camera setup, I believe would be a good search term.
Okay.
You want to have 2 cameras. You really do. You want to have a main camera and a backup camera. I use an iPhone and a GoPro, and I have in my video on YouTube how to set that up specifically. It's very simple. Even I have a link to all the things you order on Amazon. It might be like $8 worth of little pieces, so you can have 2 cameras on the same tripod going at the same time. One of my clients this week, he was testing 23.2 23.2. I think, 23.4. I'm sorry. He was testing that today, and his phone overheated. So he was doing it outdoors in Tennessee, very hot out there. So he said, honestly, I don't mind redoing it in like 20 degrees less heat will be good for me. But his camera overheated before the video was done. So he lost the last round, and that's a no-go. So he's going to have to redo it. And that's, it's why you always want to have two cameras. I've only had one camera fail ever, but I had a backup camera in place. So again, it's just good practice. If you want to go to the games next year, and if you want to be in that top 40 or 30 or 20 or however many they take to the games, be well practiced at this one thing, and do it right.
Here's a great event to practice those skills at. Absolutely.
This is part of it. We're not going to have live events to qualify for things. There's not, those opportunities aren't going to present themselves to us. So let's do what we need to do so that we can get to these events and show the world what we can do as Masters athletes, right? Pick of the week, Rick. You've got a pick of the week this week. You texted it over to me. Tell me what you got.
I think we'll attach it to the show notes.
We will.
I believe. It is another podcast. Shocker. I listen to other podcasts, a lot of them, believe it or not. It's from the Whoop podcast series, and it was back in May. I stumbled upon it a few days ago. I was just looking for something, about right into that hour time frame. And you brought this book up a number of episodes ago from us, Breath by James Nestor, and the art science of nasal breathing and the health benefits, overcoming all kinds of allergies and deficiencies just while you're young. And then it moves into evolving into improving athletic performance and how to start out. I think the interview was she had some really good questions like, step one, what should I do? Trying to learn to walk before I run. What do I need to do for the whole concept of nasal breathing? And if you don't want to read the book, this is a great 1 hour escape to get you back into that mindset and to see the value of how we are breathing incorrectly as a population, and the benefits of breathing. Improving your breathing can help in all facets of life. And a funny thing at the end, he was being asked about where to find some more information. He's like, hey, this social media thing, it's just a hassle. I'm lazy. I don't do it well. But what I have on my website, I think he was given permission to attach links to all the research studies that he used for the book and anything else that has come out since. He said, everything is there. Go to the website. He goes, I'm not making money from these links or anything like that. He just said, the information is there. Use it. That's what this is about. So I think that's a good resource.
That's great.
I haven't gone to the website, but I got a lot out of the podcast. Again, just a great refresher. 1 hour.
So good. That was an impactful book for me. Really impactful. So I love it. I'll have to listen to that podcast to get a refresher on all of that, a reminder.
The hour will go so fast you won't even notice the passage of time, and you'll be like, this spurs on why I was doing what I'm doing.
That's amazing. This is great. My pick of the week is for those who, like me, have addictive personalities and may have had or may have an addiction to chewing tobacco. I've talked about this in my other social media things. But I was a tobacco chewer for about 10 years. And when I qualified for the games in 2018, I had this thought that occurred to me. And it was that a games athlete does not chew tobacco. And that's just the standard I set for myself. I'm a CrossFit Games athlete, and a games athlete doesn't chew tobacco. So I threw away the can of tobacco, felt really good about myself for about 3 minutes, and then I had to battle for the next hour and for the next day and every single hour of the next day and for the entire week and for a couple of weeks until the urge, the habits, all of that had just kind of gone away. And about 6 months after that, randomly, I had some incredible cravings. I'm pretty sure I drove to the gas station where I always used to pick up tobacco. I didn't actually do it at the time, but I mentioned to a friend, like I was just struggling. I really wanted some tobacco. And he said, hey, have you ever tried grinds? Grinds as in like coffee grounds. Think of it that way. It's grinds. And all this is little coffee pouches. So if you're a tobacco chewer, and I know this is just a very sliver of our audience that chews tobacco or has chewed tobacco. It's these little pouches that you tuck in there, and they're really well hidden. No one knows that you're chewing tobacco at that moment. That is a very habit. It's an addiction based on that habit. These grinds are just little coffee pouches, and these coffee pouches tuck into that spot in your cheek where you used to chew tobacco. And honestly, it's a behavior replacement tool for me that I still use. I still have these habits from 5 years ago, but for 5 years, I've used Grinds coffee pouches to keep me from ever going back to tobacco. A Grinds is good enough. They're not addictive. So I could go a day or two just having forgotten, but then I'll be on a drive and I'll think, man, I just want to, I have a Grinds, and I'll just grab a Grinds, pop one in. Mm-hmm. Now here's the other side benefit. Caffeine is a supplement. Okay. So caffeine is a performance enhancing.
I was hoping you'd go
right.
there.
So, I mean, honestly, at the games, I'll just say that, when you do 1 or 2 events in the morning, then you've got a 4-hour gap, and then another event in the evening, maybe early evening, like maybe 4 or 5 o'clock. You're pretty tired at that point. Like you need a little bit of a wake up call. Now, when you get on the competition field, you have plenty of adrenaline, but I'll tell you, popping 2 of these in will give you 50 milligrams of caffeine. And I mean, that's not that much when you're a coffee drinker like me, but it's just enough to give you just a little bit of caffeine. And now you're warming up. Now you're ready to go out there and crush an event. But I don't really think of it really as the performance enhancing benefits of caffeine, although that's a side benefit. But for me, and for those of you that either have or still struggle with chewing tobacco, Grinds is the key. And if you're struggling with anything, if you need some accountability, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to be an accountability partner for you if you're in the process of quitting. I just want to throw that out there. So Grinds, I'll have a link in the show notes below. They're not a sponsor, but I just love the brand. I love what they stand for. And we can't be chewing tobacco. It's just putting poison in our mouth every day.
How about caffeine for long drives?
I mean, obviously, it's so great.
Yeah. Oh my Lord. Yeah.
I mean,
I was going to say,
I love a cup of coffee.
I'm drinking my caffeine. But, you've got Grinds.
Dude, I just double down. I just have a cup of coffee.
Both.
Yeah, I got both. Yeah, I got both. Say, I mean, as a true addict, I've got both.
There's a cup in the cup holder, and then there's a Grind.
Yes.
All right, it works.
And the great thing about this is you don't have some sort of a spit can or a cup or something that's just disgusting. It's just coffee.
Right.
It's fully.
Exactly.
You could eat this thing if you wanted to. Well, Rick, another great episode. Excellent. Appreciate you, man. Love doing this with you.
Likewise. And let's have a successful week, and we'll have some feedback on how far we've gotten through some of these tests.
Yes.
When we talk next.
Yes, I will be done with them. One and done.
Good luck to you.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning into the Masters in Motion podcast. If you found this episode helpful, we'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow our Masters community. Until next time, guys, get bolder, not older. See ya.